Hey everybody, out in the hayfield, waiting on the Swathers to get here. So finally gonna get some footage of the Swathers. It's been a little hectic getting started, but I think we got all the bugs out of everything. So finally get some equipment footage, because I know everybody loves equipment footage, including myself. Nobody wants to sit here and listen to me talk. Anyway, I'm just out walking this field. Really nice, lush green and thick. I mean, it's so thick it's almost hard to walk in. So nice heavy first cutting crop. So anyway, let's get some footage of the Swathers and show you guys what we're doing. If you need to clean your boots, quick easy way, just walk through a wet alfalfa field in the morning and shine up like a new penny. So coming out of the back of the header, well, you guys just saw hay coming out. It's going through a set of conditioner rolls. So it's two rolls, one on top of the other, and they're spaced, I don't know, we keep them 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch apart. And they have like little, I don't know what you'd call them, little ribs or cleats that mesh together as it rolls, and it crimps the hay or conditions it, aiding in the drying process. So I was just walking behind them checking. You can actually find the crimp marks on the stem, so I'll show you guys that. So you come in here and just grab a handful and see, like, let's see, there's a mark right there. See, there's a little pinch mark right there. So it got crimped there. It's usually, yeah, see, there's one there. So that's about, I don't know, every 2 inches or 1.5 inches, there's a crimp mark. So that just pinches the hay and opens up the stem a little bit and will help dry out quicker. And this is pretty big stemmed hay, so the crimp marks are really easy to find. Yeah, there's another one. And like I said, we can set the gap or the space between the rollers for different crops. So like with alfalfa, excuse me, we run it pretty tight to crimp good. And then like with a grass or something that, you know, the stem on it doesn't need to really be crimped, we'll actually open it up just to help feed through there, you know, to kind of speed things up. You can also set the tension, so the pressure between the rollers. The Massey Ferguson we have, it's not here, it's done hydraulically, and then these cases are done with like a torsion bar or like a torsion spring. So there's a lever on the side of the head, and we can crank it up or crank it down depending what we want to do. So I have these set on, they're probably 3/4 of the way out, all the way up to the max tension. If you have loose tension, you know, obviously it's not going to crimp the hay as good, but you'll actually see the rollers bounce like in heavy crops. So our rollers aren't bouncing right now, so I could probably back off a little bit, but it's going to do the same thing, and you know, it's going to be crimping the same until they actually start bouncing. So that's how the hay's crimped or conditioned. So yeah, this is a really nice field. There's a few gophers out here I'm seeing, so the guys are fighting that a little bit, but it's cutting pretty clean. It's first cutting. First cutting's always kind of dirty, but this field's real heavy. You know, the hay's kind of lodged or laying over, so it's actually cutting a little better one direction, because I think the hay's laying to the south, so when they come back cut to the north, you know, they're hitting it this direction, so it's picking the hay back up. Well, when you go the other way, it's going to lay it over and not cut it as clean. So you can kind of see it's cutting a little bit cleaner going to the north than it is to the south. But like I said, it's first cutting, and first cutting's always kind of dirty anyway. So a minute ago, I stopped the guys coming in and had to put a couple blades on, just on the ends of the header. That seems to be where you get, you know, the most dirt buildup, because a lot of time that side of the ends of the heads are on the borders, so that's where it picks up the most dirt. So I changed the blades on the ends, because those wear the most. But anyway, I just wanted to show you. So it was using this edge right here, and this is what it's supposed to look like, nice and sharp. So you can kind of see the difference if I put them. I don't know if you could see that, but and this blade, I probably could have flipped it over, but it wore a little bit on the length. So I just said, I'll just change it, what's the big deal? So I just changed the end blades. All the other blades look good, but with these rotaries, you can wear one side, so they're directional too, because some of the turtles turn clockwise, some turn counter. So we'll run them on one side for a while, and then we'll actually flip them and run them the other way, so you get double the life or more life out of them. And it just depends. People ask me how many acres we get out of a blade. Like I said, it just depends on the field conditions and the crop. Alfalfa is pretty easy on blades. It's pretty soft, but you get into like wheat or grass stuff that's a little more abrasive. They'll run a day. So just say 100 acres, 120 acres, and then we'll flip them and wear the other side out. So, you know, maybe I'd say 250 to 400 acres on a blade, depending what you're cutting. And then these have a pitch to them. You can see the angle there. So we run, these are 18-degree blades, 18-degree knives. They make 7 degrees. I think somebody makes a 13. They also they'll make them serrated, but we just run these. These seem to work the best for us. We used to run the 7s, but with the 18 degrees, with more of a pitch, we've actually found that maybe you get a little bit of lift out of it, you know, because of the angle. So like in crops that are laying down, this turtle right here, or the blade that's on the turtle, you know, tip to tip speed could be up to 200 miles an hour. So there's a lot of turbulence, there's a lot of wind movement in there. So we've actually found that having a little bit of pitch actually might create a little bit of suction and suck some stuff up off the ground. So I don't know, rather than dealing with, you know, different degree blades for different fields, we kind of just found this is a fit that works the best for us. So that's what we run. But uh-oh, no hydraulic oil. This thing had a leak. O-ring on one of these spools is no good, so it slowly drained the oil out over the course of yesterday. So probably a 50-cent O-ring and probably about 30 gallons of hydraulic oil gone. So yeah, that's what a little part will do to you. So anyway, we're gonna get this fixed up. I'm gonna service this machine and kind of walk you guys through it, you know, just show you what the components and everything. I know a lot of you guys probably know about these already, but maybe somebody doesn't. So anyway, I'm gonna get this O-ring fixed real quick and then service it and walk you guys through it. Got lucky. Only needed 5 gallons, so not as bad as I thought. Okay, greasing done, belts checked, all that good happy stuff. So now I'm gonna just show you the inside of the head. So here's the turtle shell I was talking about. Here's the blades I was showing you guys yesterday. So these things are turning, like this one's turning clockwise. The first two turn counterclockwise to feed the hay into the head and out of the corner. So these two turn the same direction, and then from here on out they're opposing. So clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, and so on. And then down the other two down there, they do the same thing. They turn the same direction to throw the hay into the head. So you also have these squirrel cages, that's what I call them. They're spinning too as the head's turning. They just kind of help feed everything in. And then you have your helper roller or your auger. So there's a little bit of flighting on each end here. And then you have this like cold roll welded on here that just helps feed the hay into the conditioner rolls. So this is where the crimping's done, what I showed you guys yesterday. So here's these pieces here that mesh when they meet, and as the hay's going in there, that's where it's going to get pinched. And then, you know, obviously the hay goes out the back into the chutes. So head speed on this one I think can range from like 2600 RPMs down to 1300 depending on crop size. The shorter the crop, the slower we'll run it, just to reduce the air turbulence coming off of these things. Obviously the heavier the crop, the faster they'll go, you know, to keep up cutting. And you know, like especially first cutting, you get a little dirt build up here just because of, you know, gopher mounds, or, you know, just the hayfield sitting over winter, they just get kind of soft, so the head's kind of digging in a little bit. So that's kind of normal for right now. So what we'll do, and I need to do, I forgot, come in here with a bar and clean, especially clean these corners out, just to keep the hay feeding good and right. But yeah, that's just a quick, simple run through of the Swather header. So a few U-joints under here you got to grease. These bearings in here, there's a hub assembly in here that they used to be greasable, but we found that we had bearing failure. We were told by the dealer that we were over greasing them and blowing the seals out, and none of the grease would stay in, so we started greasing what they recommended. The bearing still went out, so we finally just put sealed bearings in there, and I plugged the threads where the grease zerk goes, and we have not had a problem. The bearings will make the season now, and our fingerprints are all over that. The bearings will go the whole season, and we'll just change them over winter no matter what. And I think what the problem is, it's two bearings, one on top and then one on bottom, and then there's a gap in between them by that much. Well, the zerk is right in the middle, you know, and those bearings are sitting on top of each other like this. You'd probably have to pump a whole tube of grease in that thing to get it to push up, you know, into the top bearing, because it was always the top bearing that failed. But even then, you know, things get hot, grease may start to break down, and that grease is going to separate and just go down into the bottom. So then you have that top bearing that's, you know, running dry. And I'll go show you the top side of that, because on the top side of it, it's got a pulley and a belt. So this is the pulley that has the hub on it with the bearings I'm talking about. It's driven off of this gearbox. Gearbox is driven off the motor. There's one on each side. This belt here just runs that squirrel cage and that hub with the bearing. So we've also found too, you know, if you over tighten these belts, you're putting a little extra pressure on this in turn, which is going to put pressure on the shaft going into the bearings and put a little more fatigue on them than what maybe is necessary. So we've kind of found our happy medium on belt tension, and that's how we run it. We run the sealed bearings in there, and really isn't a problem anymore. So I don't know, I've talked to other people that they've just started greasing real heavily and haven't had any problems, but the sealed bearings seem to be working for us, so we'll just stick with that. So anyway, yeah, we got everything all greased up, full of fuel, belt tension checked, the leak's fixed, it's full of oil, everything's ready to go. So we are going to take this machine and go cut in between the almond trees that I showed you guys in the last video. So it's getting time to start knocking some wheat down, so which is always fun to me. I like cutting wheat. It's nice and heavy and it's fun. So anyway, I'll catch up with you guys out in the wheat field.